Hi, I'm Grant Rodiak. I'm the co-designer of Hocus, which is the first published game from Hyperbole Games. Hocus is a light strategy card game that plays with 2 to 5 players in about half an hour. Hocus borrows some of the elements from poker, like some of the ideas behind the cards, but then mixes up all sorts of interesting new mechanisms, like how you build out the entire table among your opponents. It's very interactive, and we add in 24 different unique spells. This is meant to be a rules replacement video. I'm going to teach you how to play the game entirely from scratch. So if you hate reading rules, you can watch this video. If you watch the rules and are still a little bit confused, you can watch this video for more examples and to get clarification. Or if you're just curious about what Hocus is and what it's like, you can watch this to learn a bit more. So let's get started. Let's set up the game. First, we're going to give every player a reference card. One side of the reference card lists every hand that you can make in the game, ranked, and how to make them. I'm going to explain this a little more in a bit when it's a little more pertinent. Then, every single one of them lists the 3 basic spells that every player shares. So, give every player one of these. We're going to play a 3-player game for this example. Next, you need a method of keeping score. Every copy of the game will ship with scorecards, but they're not shown here due to this being the prototype version. I'm going to use these custom tokens that we had made, but you can use poker chips, pennies, coins, pen and paper, an iPhone, really anything. You just need a way to keep score, so we're going to use these tokens. Next, if you're playing the full version of the game, you want to give every player an advanced spell book. The advanced spells have little spell books on the back and look something like this, with an icon, a name of the spell book, and the individual name of the spell, and they're all numbered 1, 2, and 3 at the bottom. However, we recommend this for people who've played the game once or twice. There's 24 different unique spells, all broken into 8 unique spell books. So set these aside for now, but typically you would give each player one of them. But again, we're not playing with these right now. One quick recommendation, even for advanced players, is that you be cautious when you introduce the Enchantment spellbook or the Chronomancy spellbook. These were deliberately designed for advanced players. People have played the game 4 or 5 times and really know how it works at this point. So we really advise you hold off on these for a bit. As you can see, there's more text. They introduce more mechanisms. They're a bit more complex. So again, hold off on these for your first, 4 or 5 plays. Finally, we need to set up this deck so that everyone can get started. Now, this deck changes based on the number of players in the game. If you're playing with 5 players, you just shuffle the entire deck. You don't remove anything. However, if you're playing with 3 or 4 players, you remove the 4 zeros and the 4 14s. And you're going to see this number in the top left corner. I'm going to explain these cards a bit more in a second. If you're playing with 2 players, you also remove the 1s and the 13s. So in a 2-player game, you remove 0, 1, 13, 14. Okay? Once your deck is set up, it won't change for the entire game. So to get started, and you're going to do this each round, you shuffle the cards. Terrible shuffle. In a 4 and 5 player game, you deal 9 cards to every player at the start of every round. In a 2 and 3 player game, you deal 10 cards to every player at the start of the round. So we'll just go ahead and deal these out. Because this is a 3-player game, every player was dealt 10 cards. We're ready to start. We have reference cards for every player, a hand of cards for every player, a method of keeping score. Any cards that are not dealt out, you can set aside to form a deck. To determine the first player, just use a random method. You can do high card, roll a die, pick the youngest, whatever works for you. So let's get started. The goal of the game is to score 25 or more points. If at the end of a round, a player has 25 or more points, the game is over. Then you see which player has the most points, because multiple players can score every round. So whoever has the most points wins, and once somebody hits 25 or more points, that's the end of the game. So we're set up to play, and now you know how to win. But before we go further, I need to teach you about the cards. The deck is comprised of 4 different suits, each indicated by a unique illustration, a color. But underneath the number, which is the strength, they all have a suit symbol. We have coins, chalice, swords, and staffs. The top left number is the strength of the card. Remember, this varies based on setup for the number of players. It goes 0 to 14 for 5 players. It goes 1 to 13 for 3 and 4 players. And it goes 2 to 12 for 2 players. So that's the strength in the top left corner. Every suit has the same strength every game. Finally, in the bottom left corner, with this icon here, you have points. Now, points are how you win the game. Every card has a point value that ranges from 1 to 6. The value of points increases relative to the strength. So a 13 is worth 5, but a 3 is only worth 1 point. So that's how these cards are used. And now I'm going to teach you how we play the game, and this will all make more sense. You might have noticed that the cards with the owl wizards, the staffs, have unique text at the bottom. This is also something that you could do with the full game, but I'm not going to talk about these right now because I want to teach you the basics. So for now, just ignore this. Pretend this is the only thing you see, okay? So, we're now in the round, we're ready to play. On their turn, every player is going to choose one spell. They must choose one spell to do, and then their turn is over. On the back of your reference sheet, you have 3 basic spells. We're going to tell you about each of these now. The first is Build Community. Place 1 card from hand face up in a community. So this is my hand, and as we know, we have 10 cards because this is a 3-player game. I'm going to look at my hand, and I take 1 card from my hand, and I play it face up in the community. The community is a row of up to 4 cards. And cards, as they're played by other people, so I just took this guy's turn, and now we'll take the guy to my left's turn, and he would also build community on his turn if he chose. You play them in a row until there's 4. You cannot play more than 4 cards to this community. That's Build Community. Next, you have Build Pocket. Pocket is place 1 or 2 cards from hand face down in one pocket. Now below it says limit of 2 pockets of 2 cards each. Every player has 2 pockets. So I could take 2 cards from my hand and play them face down in front of me. I could also just play 1 card face down in front of me. Now with pockets, once you play cards here, you can't change them. You can look at them, but you can't move them around, you can't pull them back. So I could on my turn play 1 here, and on a future turn play 1 here. Now, because it's a limit of 2, I could still add more to it over time. But if I add 2 right away, like this, I can't change that pocket anymore. So, every player has 2 pockets of up to 2 cards, and Build Pocket is place 1 or 2 cards from your hand face down in one pocket. The final action you could take is Build Pot. Place 1 card from hand face down next to a community. There is no limit. So remember the points? When you do this, when you play to the pot, the only thing that matters is the point symbol. So you could take 1 card and play it face down. Put it horizontal so you don't mix them up, and you put it face down next to the community. So now, I played the 12, which is worth 4. So right now, this community is worth 4 points. And let's say dude to my left who's invisible wanted to play the 13 as well. That's worth 5. So that's 4 and 5. This is now worth 9 points. So we're adding cards to the community, we're playing 1 or 2 cards to our pocket, we're adding cards to the pot. Those are the 3 basic spells. So right now, like poker, we have a community, we have a pot, we have pockets. Those are terms that people who've played poker are familiar with. However, there's a twist in Hocus in that there are 2 communities if you're playing with 2 to 4 players, and 3 communities if you're playing with 5 players. What that means is players over time, and pretend I'm playing for multiple players, we can build multiple communities. So this community is the 2, 5, and 8. This one is 4, 13, 4, and 9. And remember, this one has 4 cards in it, so no more can be added to it. This one has 1 more. And just like we have multiple communities, we have multiple pots. And you could play cards to either pot. And you also, again, have multiple pockets. Now, if you're playing with 5 players and there are 3 communities, you have 3 communities of 4 cards each. And each one of those has a pot, unlimited number of cards. However, you could still only have 1 or 2 pockets. You cannot have 3 pockets, which means you need to choose how to use them. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. The end of every round is triggered when the last card is played in the last community. Here, we're playing with 3 players, so we only have 2 communities. So, player on my right here is going to play the 1 of staffs. So now we have 2 communities, both full of 4 cards. That triggers the end of the round. Now, every player, including the one who added the last card, gets 1 final turn. You have to take a turn. So, here, the communities are both full, so I cannot do the Build Community spell. If I have a pocket available, I can still build pocket. Otherwise, I have to build the pot. Now, this is a really key element of the game. The game is about timing and hand management. You might find that you're out of time. You didn't get enough time to build up the pockets or boost a pot enough because someone's just ending the round. So you really want to pay attention and manage your actions. Once that final card hits, that triggers the end of the round. Now, just to drive it home, if you're playing with 5 players, you have 3 communities, which means you need 4, 4, and then 4 in the 3rd community to trigger the end of the round.
This doesn't happen often, especially not in the classic version I'm teaching you right now without the advanced spells. But if at the start of your turn you have no cards in your hand, you have to pass. You just pass until the end of the round. This isn't common, but it happens sometimes, and you need to know.
So, our communities are full, the round is over, we have our pockets. What next? Well, we need to figure out who wins the points that are in the pot, and we do that with a showdown. Usually, just for simplicity's sake, I like to gather all the cards that people didn't play from their hands because anything in your hand doesn't matter at this point. So I like to take all those cards and set them aside. It just cleans things up. So now, first player decides which one of these 2 communities to resolve first. You resolve them in a showdown. For every showdown first player would pick which one of these to resolve. So I'll say, let's do the one on top. That's the one I think I want to do. So every player will choose a pocket that they want to contribute to it. And so now we have everyone's in. I accidentally threw that in the pot there. So we have 3 pockets. So what we do is we reveal them simultaneously. So this is looking pretty good. I have 3 5s and 2 4s. I have a full house. I'm feeling pretty good. This is revealed. Oops, wrong one. This is revealed, and he has a pair of 5s. He was hoping for a straight, so that's not terribly good. So it looks like the full house is pretty solid, except, he had pocket 4, so 4 4s makes 4 of a kind. So this player over here has the best hand, and I'm going to explain those in a minute, and he wins this showdown. So the showdown's over. You can collect all the cards from it, and now we see what was in the pot. The 12 and the 13 that we showed earlier, so that's worth 4 and 5 points. That's 9 points. So we get our points. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this player has all those points. Cool. So we do that again for every other showdown. If we have 2, we do that twice. If we have 3, we do it 3 times. Now, we only had 1 pocket, which means we can't even compete here. So this player now is going to toss in, and he's just got a pair of 8s. That's a much less good hand, but he's the only one, so he wins. So again, we look at what's over here, and we have a 3, and a 2. So that's 8 points. So one thing you might have noticed is that the pair of 8s only took 1 fewer point than the player over here who had the 4 of a kind. Hocus is not necessarily about having the best hand, but it's about having the best hand in the place where you're going to compete. And that's really important. So the round is over. He has 9 points. He has 8 points. The player with the fewest points is first player. If multiple players tie, you pass to the left. If you're playing with 2 players, you simply alternate first player every time. Now, whoever is first player at the start of the next round, after looking at their cards, can choose to go first or last. And that way they can choose, well, I want to see what other people are going to do first. Or I have a really good hand and I want to start contributing.
There's one quick showdown rule I want to go over, though. So, you remember how this guy and this guy only had 1 pocket? They both went in on the first showdown, but if things were different and they didn't want to do that showdown, they could have just said, when everyone else is choosing hands, I don't want to go in on this one, I decline. That's totally fine. And you're going to have to do that in a 5-player game, even if you have 2 pockets, because remember, there are 3 communities. So you can go in on, say, the first community, pass on the second, and do it on the third. Or if you only have 1 pocket, you could pass on the first, the second, and then go in on the third. One thing that's really interesting about 5-player is choosing, well, you can't go in on all of them, so which ones do you want to go in on? Remember, it's really about figuring out where you can win and where you can score.
So our showdown's over. No player has 25 or more points, which means the game isn't over yet. So we have our new first player. He or she will shuffle the cards. It's 3-player game, so they're going to deal 10 out to every player. And once they do that, they're going to set the deck aside, and you're going to start a new round. And you just keep doing this until someone has 25 or more points. Before we go into the specifics of each set, let me tell you how you're going to make sets. So as you might have seen in the demo earlier, you're going to combine your pocket with the community. That means there's a total pool of 6 cards, 4 in the community, up to 2 in your pocket. However, you're going to use your best 5 cards that make the best set. So if you can make a 3 of a kind, but also a full house, you're going to take the full house because the full house is better than the 3 of a kind. You have to remember that everyone else can use that community. So that gives you some information about what other people can potentially bring to the table. But you have to know that they have 2 secret pocket cards. So you really need to see, do you have the best hand possible, or is it possible that they have a better hand or an equal or comparable hand? And that's really the meat of the game, is figuring out what you have versus them. So you want to build a community such that it's advantageous, that what you're giving to other players, because remember, what you put there is shared, benefits you more than them. And that's sort of what you have to figure out. So you're going to combine your pocket with the community, and that's going to form a 5-card hand. Now I'm going to teach you about every set in the game. These are very detailed in the written rules, and on the reference card you can see them as well, but I don't want to leave anything to chance. Now, these are the exact 9 sets that you will find in poker, Texas Hold'em, what have you. So high card, 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 of a kind, straight, flush, full house, 4 of a kind, straight flush. You know, just as a little aside, it's one of those things that we really took for granted early in the process, that, well, of course everyone knows these, but there's a lot of people who haven't played poker and didn't grow up in Texas like I did, where we just play poker and shoot guns all the time. So I wanted to tell you guys about all the sets. The first one is high card. I have never seen this happen in our game, but it is theoretically possible, so you can win with this. I've seen every other hand win except high card. I've never seen it tossed out. Actually, I've seen it tossed out, but of course it hasn't won. So high card is literally just the number in the top corner, the strength, versus the other. The higher card wins. So let's say player A threw out a 2 and player B threw out a 10. The 10 would win because 10 is more than 2. That's high card. Ignore the suit. The next hand is the pair. Here, again, you ignore the suit and you just looked at the strength, and you want to have a matching strength. So a pair of 5s, that's a pair. Tiebreaker is a higher pair, so a pair of 11s is better than a pair of 5s. Borrowing the cards from our previous example is the 2 pair, where you take literally 2 pairs. So a pair of 11s and a pair of 5 is 2 pair. Again, you're ignoring the suit here. So let's say we have a tiebreaker. This guy has a pair of 11s and a pair of 2s. First, you compare the highest cards. Well, 11 and 11 are equal, so then we go to the next cards. 5 and 2. 5 is more than 2, so the pair of 11s with a pair of 5s beats a pair of 11s with a pair of 2s. 2 pair is better here. The next hand is 3 of a kind. Here again, you ignore the suit. We have 3 11s. I want to be very clear. I am in no way recommending the ban 3-11. Similar to the other tiebreakers we've seen, the higher pair of 3, the higher set of 3 is better than the lower set of 3. So 3 11s is better than 3 8s, although I would probably like a band called 3 8s more than the band 3-11. Next up, we have the straight. Here, you ignore suit and you take 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. So what you need is 5 sequential strength cards. Here we have 13 to 9, that's 5, and they're sequential. Now, like the others, the highest strength your straight goes up to, you compare that to theirs. So if you had the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 versus my 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, my 13 beats your 12. And that's how you compare ties there. The next hand is the flush. This is where suit starts coming into play. What you need for a flush is 5 cards of the same suit. Now, all of the suits are equal. So the Sea Maiden with the Chalice, she's not better than the Owl Wizard, and vice versa. However, if multiple players have a flush, what you look to next is the strength as the tiebreaker. So if you're playing a 3 and 4 player game, you know that 13 is the highest card, and the 13 in a flush would beat the 10 in a flush. So if I have the 13 and I have a flush and you have a flush with a 10, I'm going to win that pot. So you take the suit, so 5 staffs with the owl, 5 blacksmiths with the sword, 5 leshy with the coin, and here the Sea Maidens, and 5 of them equals a flush. Next, we have the full house. This is a powerful hand you're going to want to look out for. So this is a combination of a 3 of a kind. So here I have 3 10s with a pair. Here I have a pair of 12s. So 10s over 12s, 3 10s, 2 12s. You ignore suit. Now, tiebreaker here is resolved just like the tiebreaker with 2 pair, with a slight twist because it's a different hand. Here, you first combine the 3 of a kind for strength and then go next to the next one. So here we have 10s over 12s. That's 2 high hands. However, we're going to resolve these 2 ties here. This guy has 3 11s. Oh, 3 11 over a pair of 4s. Well, 11 is better than 10. So even though this 12 is really good, the 3 11s beats the 3 10s, and therefore this is the winning hand. Next, we're talking about the 4 of a kind. Here, you ignore the suit, and it's just 4 of a kind. Remember, there's only 1 card of each suit, which means you have to have all of them. This is an incredibly powerful hand. Here I have 4 12s. Like the pair and 3 of a kind, you're going to just combine these strengths. So here, these 4 12s are going to beat these 4 10s. However, in my experience, if you have a 4 of a kind, you probably have the best hand on the table, even if it's 4 1s or heaven forbid 4 0s. Doesn't really matter what the number is. If you have 4 of those, there's only one other hand that can beat you. The final and most powerful hand is the straight flush. And this is where you have a straight 5 sequential cards of sequential strength, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that are all of the same suit. So here we have staffs, all of the owls. Very difficult hand to pull off. I've seen it happen though, and it's very powerful. Like the straight, you're going to resolve ties with the highest strength involved in your straight flush. Due to the number of cards, it is impossible to have 2 straight flushes of 2 different suits, but suits aren't used for breaking ties. So again, owls are not better than sea maidens, but the way you resolve ties is the highest number involved in your straight flush. So this straight flush could be beat if someone had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because 8 is the most powerful here. One quick note out there for you poker junkies who might think otherwise. In Hocus, you do not have the wraparound. So 1 does not wrap around to 13 in a 3 and 4 player game. It's 13 is the high end and it doesn't wrap around, and 1, again, in a 3 and 4 player game is the low end that does not wrap around. So don't do any weird funny business. In the event of a tie, so let's say my straight doesn't have a higher card than yours. We both have the same high card in our straight, so we've tied. What happens? Well, we just split the pot to the nearest even number. So if there's 9 points in the pot, we each get 4 points and that 1 is discarded. So we both win a little less, but we share it. So that's it. That's how to play. That's the summary. To summarize it up again, you're going to play in rounds until someone has 25 or more points, and then you see who has the most points. The game is played in rounds. At the start, you're going to deal players a number of cards based on the number of players you have. If you're playing with 4 and 5, that's 9 cards every round. If you're playing with 2 or 3, that's 10 cards every round. On your turn, you must choose 1 spell to use. With the basic spells, that's Build Community. Play 1 to the community that everybody shares, and there are multiple communities. You play for Build Pot, you take 1 card face down and you put it next to that community. Those are the points that you can win in the showdown. Or you could build your pockets, which are your 2 private cards in front of you. And you could play 1 at a time if you want to slow play and see what other people are doing. And you can't change those pockets once you do. You can look at them, but you can't move them around. The round ends when all the communities have 4 cards, and then everyone, including the player who played that last card, get 1 final turn. You're going to resolve the showdowns 1 at a time, combining pockets with community cards to see who makes the best hand, the best set, and those are all detailed on this card. You're going to resolve them 1 at a time. Whoever wins has the best set will score all the points and get tokens, or write it down on the card, or use the cards that we ship with the game to keep score. You see if somebody wins, nobody's won yet, you shuffle them up, and you do that again. If you're interested in learning more about Hocus, you can, go to our website at hyperbole.com/games/Hocus. There we have a print and play that is printer friendly. We have an FAQ, we link the rules, and we have all sorts of marketing speak where you can learn more about the game. You can always email me with questions at grant@hyperbole.games.com, and you can visit our page at boardgamegeek.com. Just search for Hocus, Hocus. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or feedback, put them in the comments below or send me an email. Thanks.